Hi, it's Brian Crombie. I wanted to chat with you a little bit tonight about the coronavirus and COVID-19, and I've got a couple of points that I'd like to make. First, I actually have 7 points, but the first one is this is a global phenomenon. We're all in this together, and that's something that I think too often we think very selfishly about Canada or the United States or Toronto or Ontario or Mississauga. This is something that is happening all over the globe, and our interconnectedness that we sort of think about and know about this virus has proven that we are one connected world. And it doesn't know the difference between boundaries and borders. It doesn't know the difference between races or ethnicity. It doesn't know the difference between income levels or sexes or anything. It's going to infect. It's going to infect all of us. And if not all of us, it's going to infect a lot of us, regardless of what our ethnicity, race, location, order, nationality, sex is. The second thing is that the ramp up here is almost unheard of. The curve, the infection rate is something astounding. Each one individual that gets infected infects on average 2.6 people. After 10 generations, which only takes 5 to 6 days to occur, that's 3,500 people that one person can infect. And often, as we're told, that you can infect people when you're asymptomatic, you don't even know you have it, and or when you've just got very mild symptoms. And so therefore, this ramp up that we're so worried about happens so quickly, so much faster than almost any other influenza, flu, cold disease that we've ever heard of. And that, I think, is key. Therefore, breaking that cycle, flattening the curve, as we've heard over and over again on TV, is something that we need to do, and we need to do right away. And it's probably something that all of us need to be incredibly aware of, involved in, and stay at home is the answer that we've heard over and over and over again. Self-isolation, but I think it's more than that, and we need to understand that this is something that we are all in it together, and we've done this before. You think about safety belts. Why do we wear safety belts? It's because the percentage of people that can die in a car accident goes up dramatically if we're not wearing safety belts. And so we've all accepted a infringement on our individual liberty by wearing safety belts or helmets when we're riding bikes or skiing. After 9/11, what ended up happening? We ended up having security at borders and security at airports that was far and above whatever occurred previously. And we accepted it because we seemed to think it was reasonable. I don't think people are at that level yet with this pandemic. We've got to understand that the infection rate is ramping up incredibly quickly, that flattening the curve is key, and that it's our civic responsibility. It's up to us to make the difference. Number 5, we've seen examples worldwide of success and of failure. China, even with unbelievable high rates of infection and deaths, was a success because they flattened the curve. They used what we call very draconian actions, quarantined millions, tens of millions of people in ways that, a month ago, 2 months ago, we were thinking about was almost impossible. They were building hospitals and ventilators and masks that we thought, were unbelievable. Only a communist government could actually do that, but they did it. And they did it to save their citizens, and they flattened the curve. South Korea is another example. Singapore, which put in very draconian measures right away, ended up flattening the curve and lowered the infection rate and lowered the mortality rate fairly dramatically. On the contrary, Italy, Spain, maybe France, maybe Germany have taken a different, more lax, up until now, attitude toward it. And we can see what's happening day in, day out with continual increases and deaths and arenas being taken out and converted into makeshift morgues. It's astounding what is happening worldwide. And I think that the politics and economics and even our self, we've got to put all that aside. We've got to think about the whole community. We got to think about this sort of the attitude that one has in a war, or the attitude one has in things like post 9/11. We've got to think bigger than ourselves. We can't be worried about our own our own income. We can't be thinking about the bankruptcy of our own business, just while clearly a concern and keeping people employed and economic wherewithal is important. It's not as important as the lives of hundreds and thousands, and hopefully not, but maybe millions of our friends, of our countrymen, of North Americans, of people worldwide. And so we've just got to put all this political bickering and finger pointing and who ordered what too late or too early behind us and get on. I think that we need to think about COVID-19 as the issue of our generation. I used to think that climate change was going to be the issue that defined my generation. And maybe it still will be. And maybe COVID-19 will be a great lesson to us on how we've got to address major issues that impact the whole world, and that there is this issue that it may not impact just me, but I'm doing it for the betterment of all society. And that free rider kind of attitude is such a problem that we've got with climate change and with pollution and with COVID-19. But maybe when we're thinking about it actually impacting our own mother or grandmother or grandfather, it'll hit a little bit more to home. And so we've got to think about this as the issue that defines our generation. It's our generation's Vimy Ridge. My grandfather fought on Vimy Ridge and was wounded on Vimy Ridge and got an award for being part of that fight. That defined his generation. I think this is going to define our generation. And so we've got to step up to the plate. And so I think that we've got to learn a couple of lessons from this. And one of them is that we are social animals. We need interaction. With the Spanish flu after World War I, the Spanish flu of 1919, it killed 50,000 people in Canada, 650,000 people in the United States, 500 million people around the world. It's astounding what ended up happening with an influenza, the Spanish flu, at the end of World War I. And there were huge amounts of social distancing at that time. And we didn't have the things that we have today, the telephone, the internet, the Zoom, the FaceTime, etc. And people were dying in isolation. They were dying alone. We can't have that today. So I think that this description about social distancing, we got to throw out. It should be physical distancing, 6 feet, 2 meters, but it should not be social distancing. My family's got together to call my mom. My mom is 88 years old, and she is a very social animal. She goes to church every Sunday. She's probably at church a couple of other times during the week for different meetings. She plays bridge a couple times a week. She goes to swim fit all the time, or at least all those things is what she did do. The lack of social activity is going to be terrible for her. And so we've all taken the challenge of calling her and FaceTiming her and Skyping her far more often than we did in the past, because she needs that social interaction. And you all know people in your life that need their interaction. So throw at this world social distancing, replace it with physical distancing, and get out there and interact with people socially. Use Zoom, use FaceTime, use the telephone, call them. We need that interaction. And I think the other lesson is that good leadership, good political leadership, good business leadership, good military leadership, good public health leadership, good medical leadership, it counts. It counts big time. And we need those leaders. I take a look at Governor Andrew Cuomo of the state of New York on the television night after night. And I'm impressed with how honest he is, how frank he is, how clear-headed he is, how he's got PowerPoint slides that detail his points, so he knows what he's talking about. You know that he's been in those meetings. He's got the details. He's mastered the details, but he's going to come out and he's going to put out in everyday language. He's toured the convention sites where the hospitals are going to be, the makeshift hospitals are going to be built. He knows the facts. That's a testament to true leadership. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is someone I've quoted numerous different times, where he suffered polio himself during the Great Depression, and then during the World War II. He stirred his nation to action through his inspirational words. Not by lying, not by glossing it over, not by just selling hope, but by being frank, by being honest. Winston Churchill, Battle of Britain, talked about that this will be our finest hour. They weren't glossing over things. They were telling people that the Frank news was what it was. They were telling people the reality, but people wanted to follow them because they believed that they were giving them the best advice and the best guidance. Which brings me to my last point. Real leaders, great leaders, need great followers. You can't be a leader if you don't have followers. And so therefore, we all need to follow great leaders. We need to tell them they're doing a good job. We need to follow their instructions. We need to physically distance. We need to socially be close via internet, telephone, other ways of interacting with people and support people. And we need to tell people, yes, we'll give up some of our material wealth right now in exchange for saving our grandparents and our parents, because those are the people that are most at risk. So I don't want to scare you, and frankly, I am a little bit scared, but I think this is one of the greatest challenges our generation is going to face. A pandemic of unbelievable proportions. And just think again of that 1918, 1919 Spanish flu. And the population of the world was obviously a lot smaller. 50,000 people in Canada passed away. 650,000 people in the United States passed away. 500,000 people. 500 million people, 500 million people worldwide passed away. Let's not repeat that. And one of the most interesting things of lessons about that Spanish flu was social distancing worked. But some cities, some countries ended the social distancing too quickly. And they had a second wave that was worse than the first wave. So let's get it right the first time. And let's keep it in place long enough such that we don't end up having anywhere near the kinds of fatalities that occurred during the Spanish flu in 1918, 1919. Let this be the time in Canada, in North America, in the world, where we stepped up to our challenge and did what we need to do, supported our neighbors, supported our families, supported our countrymen, supported our world citizens by stamping out this flu, by not infecting other people, by staying home, by physically distancing, not social distancing, by supporting our political leaders that are saying that we are going to have to take some economic challenges to get this behind us. And I think probably most importantly, by realizing that it could be worse. Lots of other things could have happened to us. We can stay at home, be with our families, watch a little TV, maybe pick up some hobbies, maybe get some of those things done around the house that we've been planning on doing, and don't infect other people. Thanks. Good luck, good health, and good night.